Today we are blessed with the presence of Dr. Satwinder Kaur Bains, who is the Director of the South Asian Studies Institute at UFV Canada. So welcome.
Thank you, Andrea.
We're really pleased to have you here with us today, and we're looking forward to having this chat with you.
It's my pleasure.
So why don't we start with your introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. Okay. So in context, I suppose, keep it in context. I work at UFV in the South Asian Studies Institute. I'm also associate professor in social culture media studies. I don't teach as much anymore. I'm more interested in looking at the research that I'm undertaking over the last, let's say, 15, 16 years. And I live in Abbotsford. I have 3 children. I have 1 grandchild. I help my husband with the blueberry farm. Abbotsford is home. I'm actually originally from India. I'm from Shimla. Grew up and did my education there before I moved to Canada. It's been a long time. But coming back to India is always part of that, question we ask ourselves, where's home? And part of my home is still here. My heart, home is where the heart is. And for me, this is still home.
Really glad to hear that. And it's been lovely to have you here because you've been here on the FEI campus for a few days now. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience here at FEI?
Mm-hmm. So about a year and a half ago, we started talking at the UFV Canada campus about building intercultural competencies across departments. So not just in pockets, but trying to spread the love and spread the work around every department at UFV. And we initiated a project called Building Community Across Cultures. And it was with a goal to build intercultural understanding of a very international campus with a lot of people from other countries, both working and studying there. And one of the outcomes of that was to take a study tour to India for faculty and staff. So we spent a year studying and learning and then building relationships with each other as well. There's about 24 people across campus who joined. And we'd meet every month and learn new things and learn with each other. And then we planned a trip to India for February of 2024. There was, as you know, diplomatic kerfuffle between Canada and India. And then we finally, it opened up and we could come to India. So we arrived last week on Sunday, on February the 11th. And the goal was to come to FEI, to the campus. And very fortunate to have this place for us to come and learn and to share and to observe and to take back with us all kinds of information and knowledge that perhaps we don't have over there. So there's 16 of us that have come. And the campus has provided us that laboratory where both faculty, staff, students, even parents have been engaged in sharing of information and learning from each other.
What would you say some of the highlights of this trip were for you?
I think for me, because I've been to FEI many, many times, it's always this joy in seeing people's lives transformed by the experience and this amazing goodwill and giving nature of the faculty and staff here. They're so willing to hear what we need and fulfill our needs. And sometimes I feel like we're doing a one-way kind of ask, and I want to make sure it's reciprocal, that we bring something with us and leave it here as well. So for me, the highlight is just seeing the Canadian faculty and staff come here, interact with students, with staff and faculty and parents, and just be transformed through that experience and take that back with them and then share that as well as reflect on that and apply that to the work that they do. And through that, I think the multiplier effect of that for everyone, not just for the international students that come to Canada from FEI or from other parts of India or from other parts of the world, but also this transformation for the individual self, because it expands their horizon. So for me, that has been such a rewarding experience for me, and very fortunate to have this space for us to do this. Otherwise, we would be speaking to people out of context. There's a lot of contextual stuff happening here around UFV Canada. The language, the knowledge, what we're teaching, how they're acting, what the requirements are kind of in step with each other. So it's not difficult to step in and just take on the work.
Right.
I think some of them are really tired from how much information we've shared. And there'll be time when we go back to really introspect on that.
I'd like to sort of just take a step back for a moment so we can give some context to our viewers and our listeners. What can you tell us about the South Asian Studies Institute?
in 2004, I believe, a first trade mission came to India from UFV, Canada. At that time, UCFV, University College of the Fraser Valley. India was becoming a world power, both economically and culturally. And we wanted to really build relationships because we had such a large diaspora population in Abbotsford and in Vancouver and in BC generally. So a bunch of us came to India to meet with partners and educational institutes, and the first people we met were from Punjab University. And while the dream of setting up FVI started there, back home when we went back, the idea was to really study the South Asian community of the diaspora. It's a really interesting time because until, I would say, till the late 90s, early 2000s, as a community, which is a very strong community in the Valley and has a long migration history, we didn't have the luxury to study ourselves. We were always in survival mode. And I think it was after the 90s, I really believed that there was a shift and a change where people started to thrive. And the first, second generation kids were born there. They had never been to the motherland, but had that in their imagination. And so the idea to set up an institute to study ourselves was such a gift, such an amazing idea. And so partly India was rising on the world stage. We had these thoughts going on and the stars kind of aligned. So the institute was set up. It was initially called the Center for Indo-Canadian Studies. We raised some money. We started the institute. I became the first director. And it was a research institute developed to study ourselves abroad, not study the subcontinent of India, but to study the people who had left it and gone there and then had established homes and settled and integrated and had become really contributing citizens to Canada. And also, I think there was the idea that we had arrived, that we did contribute to Canadian society and that we are Canadian and that our contributions, our successes, our challenges need to be in the Canadian record. So the Institute's work now is to record that history, to share it, to ensure that it becomes part of the Canadian curriculum system. We started teaching in the university courses that related to us. And it wasn't just for South Asian students. It was for everyone because we don't live in a bubble. You know, there's no vacuum that we're living in. We live in a multicultural society, and all of us need to understand each other. We graduate from university perhaps with a degree and never having really understood another population. And dominant forces are quite strong. You know, we're Eurocentric approaches in education are really common. So it kind of interrupts that and says that, you know, we need to study ourselves and then write our own histories and then share that with our own communities as well as with other people.
So tell us what a day in your life looks like at the South Asian Studies Institute at UFV on campus in Canada.
You know, we start pretty early. I have an amazing team. We have really nice offices. We call it home a little bit. You know, we're away from home, but it is a place to go and hang your hat and talk with each other. So we start the day by just setting the tone for the day. Have a small meeting in the hallway, check each other's pulse. How you doing? How was your evening? Try to keep that camaraderie with each other so that people feel grounded and feel that they're appreciated and supported. We have a number of students who come every day to work for us, who are our research assistants, checking in with them. What's your day look like? And then all of us settle down to do our daily work. And a lot of us are engaged in doing research. So whether we're actually writing an article or we are digging deep into some archive or we are writing a proposal to government for new funding, or we're having meetings. We do a lot of service at University of the Fraser Valley. We might go to a committee meeting or contribute some knowledge of our own to something. Answering emails all day long is one of them. We do take breaks and, get and sit with each other and talk with each other, go for a walk. The day goes pretty fast. There's a lot to do. We are in demand. I do at least 4 or 5 media interviews a month. If there's something percolating on the world stage, like the Trudeau-Modi incident, a lot of responses to media about what we're doing. We've become kind of the experts on that region. So I get called on a lot to do that. I like to write, I like to publish. So we're constantly doing that. We also contribute to community service, like how do we serve the community? So outside of the campus, we have a National Historic Site that we manage, and we create exhibits for that. So we're in constant movement of that. We do one exhibit a year. So we're constantly planning, or we're implementing, or we're designing. We get a lot of requests from outside of UFV for both for knowledge sharing, or we get requests for archival information, or we get requests for publications. So at any given time, there's about 5 or 6 students working and about 5 or 6 staff. We have to take care of budgets and administrative stuff as well. So never a dull moment. Keeps me very engaged with South Asian diaspora studies.
How do you feel like this work has changed you on a personal level?
On a personal level, I feel that my fulfillment, the gauge has swung so far. I feel so fulfilled. I feel it's the work that I love to do, and I love what I do, and as well as it gives me so much fulfillment. It has given me a purpose, to fulfill, a purpose to leave behind a legacy of work that can continue. We are just scratching the surface. We're about 50 years behind in our research. The whole libraries have died because we couldn't write their histories down when they were alive. So I feel a sense of responsibility that we're recording this history for our future generations. So I feel this urge and this desire, impatience to do more. It's transformed me in the sense that when people write to me and say, I'm so glad you recorded that, I'm so glad this happened, that you found the information on it, it gives me a sense of, as a Canadian, as an immigrant, as a person of color, living in a dominant society, I feel this great sense of fulfillment that we've made a bit of a difference. Not a huge difference maybe, but a small difference. And that the work we've done will have legs beyond us, that it'll continue. And to me, that's the greatest testament of any research work.
If you could tell FVI students, primarily those shifting to Canada, to UFV Canada, one thing about the South Asian Studies Institute, what do you think that would be in a nutshell?
If there was one thing I was going to tell them, I would say, come work for us. Come and be part of our institute, even if you volunteer or get paid to be an RA. Come and learn histories that you know nothing about. A lot of South Asian students who come from India and come and work for us will say, we didn't know this history. We didn't know that there was a 120-year-old history. And I think it changes their views about who they are as well. I mean, they're coming from a very old civilization to a very new, young country, but they haven't quite understood perhaps their position. What is our position? Did we just arrive? Because, the dominant society outside also has this view that people of color are just still from somewhere,
right,
that we're foreigners. And I know that the students would feel that way initially, but for them to know that there's such a large, long history and a real foundation of service to the community, of having established communities, having long histories, contributions to Canadian society, to the economics, to the politics, to the social cultural scene, the religious scenes. I would love them to learn that, because if they're going to live in Canada for the next 30, 50, 60, 70 years that they're going to live, they need to know that foundational history. Because the non-discerning public doesn't know the difference between those who have been the pioneering families of early 1900s and their second, third, fourth, fifth generation South Asians, of Canadians of South Asian descent, versus someone who has come as an international student. And it takes a while, I think, for people to adjust to that. I think students in India probably know that we have a long history of being in Canada, but don't know the depth of it. So I would encourage them to come work with us, learn that history, contribute in some of their skill sets. BCIS students or BA students or BBA students, they can all contribute. We do a lot of event planning. For example, we run a golf tournament once a year for fundraising for our research. And we've always hired a BBA student to learn, what does it mean to plan an event? What does it mean to run a budget? What happens when you don't meet your expenses? So I think there's lots of learning that they can gain.
So you think that a lot of the FEI international students that shift over to Canada might be lacking a little bit of that sociocultural nuance? of what's happened between Canada and India historically, and that can affect them negatively when they do undertake that transfer.
Yes, I think when people, I can talk from my own experience. When I left India in 1975, I was a young 20-year-old, and I really thought that Canada was ready for me. I actually didn't know that Canadians, whoever they are, had very little information about people from India. And so it gave me a bit of a jolt because you come from a country where everybody looks like you, walks like you, talks like you, eats like you, to another, you have to adjust to that. But also the idea that you're a foreigner. So your own sense of your social well-being, standing, your strength of your culture, it gets questioned. You start questioning who you are, and your identity becomes like right up to your face, like it's always there. And I think it gives people pause. It gives you time to think. Here, you don't worry about it. I don't believe you worry as much about your identity because everyone kind of knows and you understands that dance has been figured out. Over there are a lot of missteps. You have to figure out where you fit. Sometimes domestic students aren't that welcoming as well of international students. You have a kind of a prejudgment of international students. And so adjusting to that takes time. And I think we have to, as Canadians, understand that it takes time. It took me a lot of time to adjust to Canada. And I would say it takes anyone. And I went with my parents. And imagine someone coming at 18, 19 years old, young, not having made real major decisions in their lives, maybe, because they had the support of their family members, to come and make all those decisions. And it is a daunting experience. And I give them full marks for being so brave and courageous to take on this journey and succeed academically. Have this other extra burden of I have to do well and I have to work, but I have to also academically succeed. It's a lot.
Do you think that Fraser Valley, India has played a role in sort of closing those social, cultural, academic gaps for Indian international students in Canada?
Yes, for a long time I've always said that the culture shock is not that great and the academic shock is not that great for FVI students as much as it is for someone coming from a rural area of Punjab or from a city anywhere in India or anywhere in Punjab. I think the FVI has created a real security net, a cushioning that allows people to come to Canada and not have as great an academic shock as perhaps someone else and as not as great a cultural shock because there's a lot that they learn from being here for 1 or 2 years. So I think it is a unique opportunity for students young students to live in India and study a Canadian curriculum while they have the social support that they need at home. Because once they leave, that social support kind of dies off for a while. Then they build a network of friends and they'll rely on those and they meet other people and the net starts to become big again. But initially, I think this model where students start here, get acclimatized to how we teach and the expectations of the Western academic system, it gives them a time to adjust to that. I'm not saying everything is adjusted, but there's a lot of adjustment that has been taken care of. And faculty and staff benefit from that because they don't need to be asking questions and going for services because they've figured it out. They've been given the tools to figure it out before they get there. Yes, context is missing. You still need to be in Canada to figure out certain things.
Right.
But in terms of culture and academic shock, I believe it's minimized a bit.
So speaking of Fraser Valley, India, you actually played a key role. You were a key individual in launching Fraser Valley, India. What can you tell us about that period in your life?
When in 2004, when we first arrived in India to talk about, looking at education as a vehicle for our work, I was just involved in the periphery part of it, but we were very engaged around engaging the diaspora around this idea of having a campus in India. One of our colleagues, Professor DJ Sandhu, was the main person behind this. But on the other side, across the pond in Canada, we were building a social network. A network of capital as well. We were raising funds. So we were all engaged in this amazing idea of setting up a school in India and a business school initially, an applied school, as you know, very small number in the beginning, looking to multiply that success over time. And I think the greatest effect of the work today has been the gradual growth. It has not skyrocketed up and become something it wasn't. It has always stayed true to its values and its foundational strengths. And I think that is what has kept UFV and FEI India so strong. And then, of course, as time developed, became involved in the academic side. I was the principal for a short period of time and really, really, truly enjoyed the interactions and being that bridge between Canada and India. That's been a real strength of mine, I believe, that I can be that bridge. I grew up here. I went to Canada. I come back. I can kind of understand both worlds, and I speak the languages. And there's something lost when you don't speak the languages. And, there's this affinity you feel to your people. I still say this is part of my home. So the love and the passion you feel for the work certainly comes out. So it's been a journey of pure joy. It's been a journey of real satisfaction. It's been a journey of real enjoyment in the sense that there has been such a great outcome. All the students have graduated in their programs. They've done well. They've succeeded. We've been part of that support network. In fact, we used to send students from Canada to come here to study, like you, who came and spent some time on campus. So this intercultural building and relationship building that we've done, I think it reaps real rewards. And I would like to see more of that. I'd love to see more Canadian students come and sit in the classrooms here and get to know how things function here. In a global society, unless we understand each other, we're bound to fail. So this one little tiny example has provided for this northern part of India a real boon for the family members who enroll their children in the program. And they are for us, their word of mouth has been something we cannot purchase. The level of marketing that we would have to do for this kind of word of mouth response of families telling other families that there is substance to this. It's not just people talking about it. It's actually happened. I have proof. My child, they went to school. This is how they did. And the outcome has been good. So I think the foundation has been really strong, and I really appreciate that.
I'd like to go back to something that you mentioned, which is that you were the principal at FEI. You were actually the first principal at FEI, correct? What was that experience like for you?
It came with a huge load of responsibility. As you can imagine, being the first principal, there wasn't a lot that was already there that I could jump off of. So it took a bit of time to figure out the role. What does the role entail? What can I do well? What would benefit the faculty and staff here? And I hope I'm a collaborative leader, that I'm a cooperative leader that listens, that engages. But I also had some of my own ideas about what I want to implement here. I was here for about 8 weeks. I'd go back for about 8 weeks, come back. And in that transition time of return and coming back and reestablishing, I really realized that the faculty here and staff are so well prepared for the work that they do that my role is as a mentor and a guide and a facilitator. It is not that I'm leading by any stretch of the imagination. They're also leading in their work. And of course, had amazing faculty who also came from Canada, like your father and others, who also were the support system, right? You're not alone doing this work. It would be a lot if one Canadian was coming here all the time telling how we want to see things unfold. While I was here, we implemented the instructional skills workshop, took a lot of faculty back to Canada, got them to see the context of Canada as well. That was really important for me. And also, we wanted to ensure that the faculty here, when they teach, can also teach there. So 2 of the faculty went and taught for a semester over there. I feel very good about getting that implemented. And it just shows that the principal position can have a lot of confidence in the faculty that are here if you build the right kind of relationship. We have a lot of sessionals where, it's a revolving door. So you always want to make sure that they're well trained, because at the end of the day, for us, it's important that the students get the kind of education that we're hoping for, that they come out on the other side with success, and that this is one major vehicle that we have to undertake and make sure that train stays on track. We're very fortunate that we've had permanent faculty here for a long time. So there's history, and they share and they mentor new faculty that come in. And we've had some amazing new faculty that have joined us as well. So I see as in the larger sum of things, I may have been the first principal, but I think the greater good is that all of us work together towards a common outcome.
What would you say some of your favorite memories are from your time here at FEI?
Most favorite memories are, sitting around a table, having chai with everyone, keeping the door open, letting people walk in and out, telling me if they had issues or just to say, I had a great day today. Having round tables, the respect you get from the students, it is so joyful to see that students show so much respect to their faculty and that they also have a desire to learn. We started some mentorship programs, internship programs, all the clubs and associations, the stuff that they do. I truly enjoyed the awards night where parents came out and the kind of pride they felt in their students' education. We could take some of that credit to say, hey, we did something to get them there. I think that to me was so fulfilling and so joyful.
In your opinion, what value do you think FBI brings to UFV and vice versa as well?
It is a model that everybody can model. It is a successful model. We have figured out the kinks and the challenges and figured out what works well and how it's such a well-oiled machine now. What it provides for UFV, Canada, I'll start there, is the students that come from FBI India, and we have records of that, statistics of that, proven records, so I'm not talking out of turn, that their CGPA and their contributions to their grade point averages are much higher than students who do not come to FBI. So it helps boost our academic record, for international students, because this one vertical does so well, and they provide kind of the example of what an international student can do. Because let's be clear, we think international students come with deficits rather than assets. We think we have to change them. And I think FBI is trying to show that you don't have to change anything. You just need to model a behavior, model a type of teaching that the student can adjust to.
Perhaps it's more a question of preparation rather than anything else.
Absolutely. I think preparation is critically important. And I think at some level, our universities fail to understand that the preparation part of it is the critical part for future success. If we haven't got that prep, and I've been a proponent of doing pre-orientation before arrival to Canada, I've always said, let's do more of that, orientation before you arrive, in your home context, here. Yes, Canadian context is missing, but you need to give them an idea of what they're heading towards. Some students who come who are not at FEI, come absolutely no idea what they're going to expect. Our students, the gift that FEI gives is that our students come well prepared. Their adjustment levels are much lower. I think the benefits far outweigh any kind of negative response from FEI. We all know that. We can clearly say that and clearly state it. But I also think UFV has given FEI students here in India an opportunity that perhaps was not available to them. They can stay here for 2 years or 3 years in the comfort of their homes with a good security net and an amazing staff and faculty grouping that allows them to succeed when they get there. So everybody I talk to says this is the best approach for not for everyone, but for the ones that do take that on. And it provides families this sense of comfort. Because they see the education unfolding here, and when they let their children go, perhaps they see an extension of that the fear is not there, that they may not succeed. I haven't seen anybody not succeed yet. I mean, there's always many reasons for failing, and I'm not saying failure is bad. There are times when failure is good. It gives you an option to do something else. But generally, students are succeeding.
So ultimately, you think that students who start their academic journey at Fraser Valley, India, with the intention of transferring to Canada, benefit from spending some time here?
There's a huge benefit. And like I said, it's not just the academic shock that gets minimized and the culture shock that gets minimized. Their training here, which is provided at a different level than Canada because the classroom is homogeneous. They are a smaller classroom. Teachers are on campus all the time. There's a smaller complement. They are taking one concentrated area of study. There's less distraction, perhaps. I feel the benefits outweigh any kind of negative response from FE. And I actually can't think of anything that's negative around this, other than people are paying good money to come to study at UFE, at FEI, and they're paying lower rates than they would if they went in year one. And I'm not saying money is everything, but I'm saying it does help a family who can pay a domestic rate, what we might charge in Canada here, and international fees will come later. So there's a cost-benefit analysis to this as well. And I think parents are very appreciative of that.
I think I'd like to end the interview by asking you one lighthearted question, which is for the FVI students transferring to Canada who'd like to come and say hello to you, where can they find you on campus?
That's a good question. I'm always on campus. Of course, I'm online. They can find me through an email. But of course, if they want to come see me, I'm in K building, K like kettle, near the entertainment center. We have our own offices under the South Asian Studies Institute. Just look me up, call me up, phone me, email me. I'm available all the time. We're there all the time in the office. And even if they just want to come and see and say hello, they don't have to work for us or do anything, just to say a familiar face. Or I've had students who phone me if they have a crisis. And I would really recommend that if there's a crisis, call us, because, we can perhaps call someone else who can help. Maybe we can't help, but we can certainly help find the resources for them. And students, unfortunately, are shy to do that. And my one message to all your students would be, don't be shy. Pick up the phone. We're available. We are more than happy to help. And feel that asking for help is not a negative thing. It's a strength. It just means you've understood that you have the capacity to change and that you have the capacity to face the challenge that you're facing. Obviously, there are certain things we can't do. We can't change your grades and we can't do certain things, but we can certainly, give you access to information or other things that you need. And outside in the community as well, if they're having housing issues or if there's some exploitation that happened to them or they're stressed out from something, reach out. We are able to help, and we have in the past, and we will continue to do so. And we also provide leadership to them, training opportunities, so they can become future leaders if that's where they want to go. Come and attend our events. Come and have some fun with us. Come have tea. I'm sure I look like a little fuddy-duddy old person telling them what to do, but if they do want to come and see me, my doors are always open. K building, at the end of the K building is our office. Come in, drop in, doors are always open.
Thank you so much, Satwinder. On that note, I'd like to thank you for your time, your insight. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you.
You're very kind. Thank you for your time.